Right, so I just had a thought come into my head there the other day because I'm getting recommended very quite a lot of light novel titles by a few of my mates now, stuff like Index and ReZero and all that jazz. You know, really popular shit. Well, at least ReZero is really popular. I don't know about Index, but I know the particular guy who recommended it to me loves it. But I've realized I have a problem with light novel titles that I kind of need to bring to light here because I think it's the biggest problem with these particular anime adaptations and light novel titles, right? And I think I don't know if I can get into unfinished anime adaptations of light novel titles before I'm aware of this. Before this is fixed, and I don't think it can be fixed, right? Because it's in a different medium idea. Do you know what I mean? It's an entirely separate medium. So it doesn't have the same synergy as anime and manga, and I'll explain what I mean here late in a minute. But my problem with light novel adaptations is they never finish, right? They just never finish, right? If you get into a good anime that's based on a light novel, you'd either have to go to the light novel to see it be finished, because the anime will never finish. Most of the time, they just end up doing 2 or 3 seasons, and then they stop for whatever reason. Do you know what I mean? You might be lucky to get a 4th season, but you're never going to get more than that. 9 times out of 10 anyway. And I feel like that caused a big problem because, as I was saying, light novels and anime don't have the same synergy as light or manga and anime. Because you see, when an anime doesn't finish but it's based on a manga, you can go and read the manga and you're losing some stuff. You're losing color and you're losing music. But that's a lot. That's really it, right? You still get the stuff that really endeared you to this show in the first place. Like, you still get that artistic style. You still get the action in a very different way, but you still get to see it. And you still get the visuals, which I think is the most important part here. The mediums are not completely different. Anime is just an advanced form of that medium. So you can easily transition from one to another very comfortably. But when you have a light novel adaptation when you have a light novel and you watch the anime adaptation and you're like, I like this, okay, let's go on to the light novel. It's a complete shift and change in style. You have to use your imagination more so than actually seeing it, which is fine when you already have the characters in mind from the anime, but when you introduce new characters, it's like, oh well, I don't actually know what these people look like, and I can just imagine it, and that's the problem. People say use your imagination, but sometimes people like to have a concrete idea of what things and characters look like. Do you know what I mean? And light novels can't provide that. So I feel I can never get immersed in a light novel like I can a manga, because in a manga I can visually see that. I can visually see the characters. I can visually see what's going on, even if I don't have the music or the color, right? And even then, the color is normally in the cover art of the volumes, you know, that type of stuff. So I'm not missing color entirely. I still have a basis for it. You could say that about light novels as well. You still have color and you still have the characters on the cover, but you don't necessarily always have the new characters on the cover of that particular volume, so you can't kind of visualize it that way. And I feel like a big problem with these mediums that I have is that, you know, if I'm going to read a light novel, I need some pictures, right? Because I've gone from a visual medium to a descriptive medium, and it just does not mesh with what I came to that show for. Yes, it has the same story, and it's the original source material, but it's still a complete and utter departure from what I was originally used to. The problem with that is a lot of people don't like it when you don't give them any visual aids to kind of use in that sense, you know what I mean? Because I don't know if I'd like to read One Piece if it was just the fucking writing. Because I like to see the action. I don't like to just see it in my head. I like to see it visually. Yes, you could say, oh, well, that's not very imaginative of you, but there's something about having a concrete idea of what something is that does something for me. It really suits me personally, I believe, and a lot of people, I think, and that's why you don't see people going to read light novels very much. You see them waiting for the next season that never comes out. But that's my problem, because it's gotten to a point now where I am so I don't get invested in light novel stuff anymore. I just don't watch it. Because I know if I get invested in these stories, in these shows, I won't get to see the ending of it anymore. I think a prime example of the most recent one, I'm terrified. Well, not terrified, I don't think that's the right wording. But I'm kind of there. I don't want to get into it because I kind of want to sit there knowing that it's going to happen, right? ReZero, we're not going to get to see the end of the ReZero anime. Don't kid yourself. We're not going to see the ending of it. It's going to get another season or two, and then they're not going to give it another season, I guarantee. And I'm probably not going to watch it until it does finish, because I know if I get invested into it, I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm just not, because I'll have to go into the light novel. And light novel adaptations, I'm just not a fan anymore, man. I can't bring myself to enjoy the same story in a light novel medium if I'm used to it in a animated medium, because there's no visuals for new characters, so it's hard for me to visualize action, particularly in my head, without any baseline, you know what I mean? And it's just I don't particularly like descriptive mediums with no visuals at all. You could say that's very immature. I don't know. Some people think if you need visuals in your stuff, it's very immature, but I just prefer visuals, right? And I can mesh with anything with a bit of visuals, right? Like I love manga. I do get a lot of my recommendations from manga from anime I've watched that I didn't finish, but it's not too different, right? I have my soundtracks from my anime. If I want to, for example, read One Piece, I put on my One Piece playlist with some OSTs and some openings that I listen to while reading the One Piece manga, and that really helps me with the missing music from that. Yes, the voices, you can't really get them, you can't emulate them in any way, but I feel like you're losing a lot more from losing the visual aspect of a show than you would be from losing the vocal aspect of a show. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you agree with me on this. I don't know if anyone does, to be honest. It's just a major problem I have with getting invested in shows that are made based on light novels or based on books. Do you know what I mean? Like, people love Harry Potter, but I doubt a lot of people would love it if it was just the books. People love a lot of it because there's also the movies, do you know, because that's a visual. There's visuals in that. You can see, you have a concrete idea of what the characters are like. There's not like some weird idea of it in your head. You're not kind of thinking this is what the characters are like. There is a concrete idea of what the characters look like and what happened. There's no like filling in the gaps, which can be interesting, don't get me wrong, it can be interesting in like mysteries and stuff, but I just feel like if you have to fill in the gaps for everything, even the fucking background of a scene, it just doesn't sit with me very well. I can't get engrossed in a story that way. So light novels don't work very well for me. Obviously, I have gotten obsessed with certain shows before and have read the light novels. Things like DxD is one of them. I've read some of the light novels. I haven't got as engrossed in them, I have to say. I do like them. I love where the story is going. But it is hard for me to follow. I'm very slow in that regard, and reading wise, I'm a very slow reader. I get through like one every 3 months. So, it's not very fast because I'm not as engrossed. I can see the good parts of it. I can see why people read those light novels. But especially when new characters are introduced, or when new transformations are introduced, you'd think the best way to get around the biggest flaw of it would be to add an illustration of that new transformation or of that new character. One of my biggest examples is when Coco, right, or Soso, whatever his name, I can't remember how you pronounce his name, the guy with the God Sword or the God Spear or whatever, right? When he gets like a transformation and has like these new abilities, we don't see it. We never see that, at least in the novel it's introduced in. We don't see that transformation. Like, there's no visual picture, because you get like 4 or 5 pictures in a light novel. You think he'd use one of them to show that. Instead, they use one of those pictures to show, for example, Issei doing his thing, right? And also a picture of Volley near the end of the volume. And I'm like, they are 2 wasted images. because I could have seen the new characters then. I could have seen the new transformations, the stuff that we need to have visual aid for, not the stuff we've already seen and can have a concrete vision of it in our heads. Like, I know exactly what Sun Wukong looks like. I know exactly what Volley looks like. I don't need any assistance that way. But when Soso transforms, of course you need to know what that looks like. Or in volume 18 or 17 or something, when Gasper gets this new like transformation. You know, you don't get a visual for that. And obviously, like, again, this is one of my biggest problems with it, because I feel like they could be easily fixed by just doing that, giving new characters their illustrations alongside their introductions. Or even, like, just giving them the cover page of the book, or something like that, or mid cards, you know, that give you what they look like. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's one of my biggest problems, and something that can be easily fixed but currently isn't, and I just can't get involved or entranced in a light novel world for that very reason. And backgrounds are another thing. I have a similar problem with manga in terms of backgrounds, but it's not as severe. When I can't tell exactly what the background is like, it just pulls me out. If it just looks like a white space, it just does not work with me. I need to know what it looks like. And manga has a sort of a problem where it does that, but it's a lot less, because it's only the one problem. Whereas with, as I said, light novels, I have to visualize everything. Fill in the gaps for everything based on descriptive words. And it just doesn't work for me when getting engrossed in a series. So for me, I just started to not watch any anime based on light novels, because I do not have the energy, if I get engrossed, to read their light novels. So by adapting light novel anime, I just don't end up watching them until they're finished, because I know I won't get to see the ending of them. Do you know what I mean? Konosuba is over now. I doubt we're going to see the end of Konosuba in animated form. If that happens, I will throw up my sword and say, alright, I was wrong, but I doubt it. Same with ReZero, man. I would bet money we don't get to see the end of ReZero in animated form. I would probably bet my life savings on that. But you know, watch it finish now. Watch. Oh, just watch. I feel like it's been a pretty consistent thought process. Or even when it is popular, like for example, Devils is a Part-Timer, for example. They don't come out very quick, or they come out very late, or don't come out at all. And you still don't get to see the end of it. Like, even with Devils as a Part-Timer, people are going crazy with that. It's just the second season, mate. There's no guarantee we're going to get to see the end of it. It finished this year, as far as I'm aware. But we're never going to get to see the end of it. You're only going to get the second season, and there's not going to be as much fanfare about it, because it's been over for 8 years. So what's going to happen now is it's not going to perform super well, or even if it does, they're still not going to come back for a third season, and even if they do, it's not going to finish. They're not going to come back to finish it off. It's not like that. It's just an advertisement for the book, and now that the book is finished, they're never going to come back to it after this. You're going to get your second season just to appease the fans, and then they're done. It's different with manga, stuff that's adapted into manga, because it's not that big a deal, because you have something similar that you can go to, and you can still see what the characters look like, what the backgrounds look like to some extent, and you still get the core of the experience, but you do not get that when you're reading a light novel of an adaptation of an anime. Do you know what I mean? And maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just me ranting about shit I always rant about. I don't know. Maybe it is just me being a dumbass, but it's something I think about quite a bit, because man, maybe it is just me. Maybe. I don't know.